Okay, this is the first video that I'm recording to teach you how to use Solidworks. So I'm going to start off by just opening how to open the program. So right here is the Solidworks icon. Double click here to open it. Okay, so now this is the first thing you'll see. The first thing you want to do is open a new file. So you can click here and say new, or you can click file and say new here. And then you can create either a part, an assembly, or a drawing. We'll start with the part first. We'll talk about these later. Okay, so this is what a new part environment looks like. Over here is what we call the feature tree. Here is all your tools for different kinds of functions that you want to do. Up here is the menu, so you'll be able to find some other options in these menus later. Okay, and then here's this kind of like a shortcut buttons that you can actually add and remove custom buttons here too. Okay, so in your feature tree you can look at you can assign it a material, whatever your part is. And you'll notice these three planes. So this is a front plane, this is a top plane, and your right plane. And then the middle where they all intersect, where they're all kind of touch. Okay. Planes are like flat, perfectly flat sections that you can use for reference. Okay. So it's important to always create something with a reference to these planes, so you kind of know where they are in space. Otherwise you don't kind of know where they are. So the first thing is we can try creating an extrude. Okay, and we'll pick the front plane to start with. Alright, so it already tells you want to create an extruded feature, and it's already saying, oh, you have to pick a plane to do so. Okay, so you'll see now we're in the sketch tab, and now with the sketch tab you can create many different types of lines or shapes, right? So here you can just create a straight line. If I did this, I can click here, and to stop it, double click, and it'll end those series of lines. Okay, if you want to close it now, just start it again. And click until it's all closed. If you notice, all these lines are blue. If they're blue, that means you can still move them around. Okay. So we're going to actually select these all, and if you hit the delete button, you can get rid of it. Alright, so we're going to pick the next one, which is a rectangle shape, and you can see there's different types of ways to make the rectangle. So you can start, if you look at this icon, it has what each click does. So you can look at this icon, you click, the first click is one corner of the rectangle, the second click is another corner, right? So that's one way to create a rectangle. Another way is you click on the center, where you want the center of the rectangle to be, and then the corner of the rectangle. So this was how this works, right? So that's the center, and that's the corner. Or you can say I want to make 3-point rectangle. So this point, 2, and then 3. Same thing, you can do center, corner, corner. And finally, this is a way to make a parallelogram. So here, you can do like this and like this. So this is a parallelogram and not necessarily a 90-degree rectangle. So we're going to say, let's undo some of these. This is the undo button. It gets rid of things that you were undone. So if you notice, these things, some of these lines are blue, some of the lines are black. When we clicked on the first point for this rectangle, it assumed that this line of the rectangle and this line of the rectangle are going to be in the same line with this origin. So it's saying, well, I can't drag these lines anymore because I'm adding what's called a constraint. Okay, so it's saying this line is coincident with this point. this line is also coincident with this point, and I've made it that so it's locked that way. If you notice, I can drag this blue line because those are not coincident or in line with this point, right? If I delete this constraint, right, then I can move it again, right? So now this point, if I drag it back, it assumes that that's going to be, that point is locked down with the origin. Okay, so we'll just go with that for now. And then we can say, click Smart Dimension, and we click that line, and it'll tell me how long it is right now. I can tell it what I want it to be. So let's call it 3 inches. So now it's going to say that's 3 inches. And now to define, make this side boo, we want to give this a dimension. So let's call that one 4 inches. So now you can see the whole thing is black. And now I can't drag it all because everything is fully defined, because this point is coincident with the origin, okay? And then we know this line is 3 inches away from this point. This line is 4 inches away from this point. The other important thing is that because this is a rectangle, when we use this to create it, it's saying these are 90 degrees relative to each other. Okay, so they have to be like this perfect L shape with relative to each other. So we can click up here. This is to accept our sketch, and now it's going to say, because it's an extrude, how thick do you want to be? So you can click on this arrow and pull it. That's one way to make the thickness. You can pull one way and go the other side and pull the other way, or you can go do everything through these menus. So you can only do it in one direction. Blind means blind, you want to give it a number, how deep you want it. So you can make this 5 inches if you want. That's one way to do it. You can say make it in the middle of this plane, and so it'll make it 5 inches, but it'll do 2.5 on each side. So let's just call it blind right now. And another way, if you want to do the other side of it, but a different distance, we can call that 2. You can make that a different depth. So we can say OK. And now we have a box. Okay. So try practicing making your own box with some different dimensions on it. Okay.